We're going to look at 3 different examples of looking at triangles and determining whether the triangles are congruent or not using the triangle congruence theorems. The first example I have here is dealing with the 2 triangles, and I want to know, are these 2 triangles congruent? And what I'm going to look at is the information given. I look here and I notice that angle A and angle K are congruent. I see that segment AU and segment CK are congruent, and I see that angle U and angle C are congruent. Now, the way I try to look at this is I pick a kind of a spot to start, whether that's an angle or a side, and go through the shortest route around that triangle, looking at what information I have. And that may not have made a whole lot of sense, but hopefully it will now. I'm going to start with the triangle over here on the left, and I'm just going to start in this corner with A. So I have an angle that I know is congruent to another one. I have a side and an angle. So I think I have angle, side, angle. Now I'm going to go to my other triangle and see if I have the same thing going on. Being I had the single arc that I started with, I got to start with the single arc on the other triangle. So I have angle, side, angle over here as well. I would say, yes, these triangles are congruent, and they're congruent because of ASA. Now I'm going to take this one step farther, and I'm going to actually write down the congruent statement saying which 2 triangles are congruent. I'm going to start with the triangle on the left. I can call it anything I want as far as what order I put the F, the A, and the U in. I'm just going to go with triangle FAU. Now I could have put that as triangle AFU, whatever. That didn't matter. Now the second one's the one that's important. Now the corresponding vertices have to match up. So my F from the first triangle has to match up with the corresponding vertex. And the way I do this is I just look at this and I go, well, angle F has no markings in it. I'm going to have to come into my other triangle and find the one that has no markings in it, the point or vertex. That would be T. I'll go to A. Angle A has the single arc. Angle K has the single arc. And then last but not least, angle U and angle C are going to match up because they have the double arcs. So yes, the triangles are congruent because of ASA, or angle, side, angle, and here would be the congruence statement that says they're actually congruent. Now my next one, are these 2 triangles congruent? I'm going to do the same thing. I notice I have side and a side, angle, angle, and then another angle, another angle. So my first hunch would be, if I kind of go with this, if I were to start down here with angle Q, I'd have angle, angle, and so angle Q, angle Y, and then I have this side segment JY. It kind of looks like angle, angle, side. And if I come over here, well, again, I'd have another one that looks like angle, angle, and side. So it looks like AAS would prove that these 2 triangles are congruent. You have to be careful with AAS. Remember, the side has to be opposite corresponding angles. My first triangle, notice side JY is opposite angle Q, which is the double arc. Now when I come over here, my side, segment RN, is opposite the single arc. So are these triangles congruent? Technically there's not enough information here, but I'm just going to go with, for now, we're going to say that these triangles are not congruent. Even though it looks like angle, angle, side, it's not, because the side is not opposite the corresponding angle. And then my last one here, this one I have angle, I have single tick, so I have a set of sides, and I have side and side there. So you look at it, this one looks, again, at the beginning like, yep, this is going to work, because I could go with, sometimes people will go like this and they'll go side, angle, side. But remember, technically side, angle, side, the angle has to be the included angle, so that doesn't work. So you maybe try to start with the angle and go A, S, S. Now I'll let you figure out what that spells in your head, but I wouldn't allow you to say that in my class, so don't write it on a piece of paper. Now I have a little sketchpad file for this one, because those triangles look congruent, and even here they look congruent. I have this, I'm going to say ASS. The 2 green arcs will always remain congruent, so those angles will always be congruent. The blue segments will always remain congruent no matter what I do, and the red segments will always remain congruent. I have angle, side, side, or ASS. ASS. Notice they're corresponding. Looks good. Right now I look at the two triangles, yes, they look congruent. Now, as I move this, they continue to look congruent, until now you can look at these two triangles and say, no, they're definitely not congruent. And this is why ASS doesn't work. Sometimes, yes, it works, but sometimes here, obviously, it doesn't work. So are these two triangles congruent? And again, I'm going to do that same kind of thing. I'm going to say they're not congruent, but they could be. I'm just going to go with not congruent because I know that they might be, but they might not be. And that's going to conclude this examples of proving triangles congruent.